Welcome to your Anime Senpais. I'm John.
And I'm Richard.
And today we're going to be talking about Sword Art Online Alicization, Episode 10.
Alright. Well, full spoilers ahead.
And if you enjoy our reviews, consider subscribing. And let's get this started.
Alright. So, John, last week you said that looks like we were kind of reaching a boiling point.
Yeah.
Have we gotten there now with this episode?
I think we have.
Oh, okay.
I actually, when I clicked this episode, I honestly thought I might have clicked Goblin Slayer by mistake.
Really?
Just because this popped up, and I did a double take. I actually backed out of the episode, and I was like, did I just click Goblin Slayer by accident? No, but we are being treated to our very first Sword Art Online episode that has a content warning. And I do have to say, it wasn't for fan service. It actually was very true in all the graphic nature that it described. But it was there to show the level of depravity, like I mentioned earlier, the level of depravity that Rios and Humbert kind of go to in getting revenge against them. So, they could have told it to us, but instead we kind of got a good view of it, I guess. So let's jump right into this. So a day or so went by since the last episode, and Kirito and Yuji are just kind of sitting around. It's kind of getting later in the evening, storming, and the girls aren't back, their pages. And to their credit, they've never been late, evidently, because they're like, what's going on? What time is it? They're never late. So they realize they're late. Kirito opens up the window and he starts jumping out from the second story, and he's like, well, I'm going to go try to help find him or whatever. So about that time, Yuji hears a knock at the door, and Frenika's there, and she's like, hey, she's kind of shook up, and your pages, I know where they were. They went to go confront Humbert on my behalf, and they haven't been back. So that's already kind of a bad sign. And as Yuji kind of grabs a sword and goes to see what's up with Rios and Humbert about this whole situation, it actually dawns on Yuji on the way, and you kind of see it in his mind as it clicks that these girls were the whole point of their revenge against Yu-Gi-Oh! For that draw or disgraceful display of whatever. So it was never an intent to, I guess, get back at Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh! For that against them personally. They were going to go a little underhanded and go against someone they cared for. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Arrives. Already we can kind of see from the kind of like, I guess, smoke in the air, and they're sitting there around their bathrobes. The things are a little off. So he's like, hey, where are the girls at? And they get these maniacal smiles, and just kind of, oh, we know where your girls are at. So just follow us. They get up and, they got their champagne glasses or whatever, and they set them down, take them into the bedroom, and of course, there they are on the bed, tied up bondage style, gagged, everything else. Just not really in the best of predicaments, really, which is really kind of out of place, honestly. But so Rios kind of explains the fact that these girls need to be punished for what they did. They came and confronted them, and you just don't do that to high-level nobles. So he's going to punish them right there, right now. And he immediately jumps on them. Humbert also follows suit. They begin to punish them, violate them, really. And as Yu-Gi-Oh! Begins to try to stop him, he goes for a sword, and Rios commands him, you're not going to do anything, you're going to watch. And because of the fact that the Taboo Index, I guess, has a clause to where if you're a high-level noble, you have judicial authority to make up laws, I guess. So he was actually able to bend the will of the Taboo Index and freeze Yu-Gi-Oh! In place, because he is, being the computer program or whatever that he is, the Fluctlight. He froze them, and they continued the violation. And as it just kept escalating and escalating, you see the struggle within Yu-Gi-Oh! That he just can't handle this, and he wills himself to basically break the Taboo Index, to break this rule that he set. And you see the little eye, the little computer eye that pops up with the, error or whatever it is, and it literally explodes in his head as this blood just shoots out. And at that moment, he's actually able to violate it enough to draw his sword and attack and cut off Humbert's arm. And we never really in Sword Art. There's always been violent sword fights, whatever. It's just been a computer world, though. It's always been particle effects, whatever. You've seen a grid underneath it. This time it was actually we were treated to just a graphic scene of blood showering everywhere in the middle of all this other stuff that's going on. Humbert starts, begging Rios for healing, and he just kind of takes a rope and he starts to try to tie up his arm that's been, severed. And at this point, Rios, without missing a beat, kind of just gets up and he grabs a sword off the wall and he's like, "Well, Eugeo, good job. You broke the taboo index, and I'm going to execute you right here, right now on this floor," because Eugeo is so shooken up that he can't actually even stand again. So as he goes down for the sword swing, luckily Kirito comes in, blocks it. They continue to have a little bit of a scuffle, a sword fight, and Kirito is able to overpower him enough to cut off both of Rios' arms and commence blood splatter number 2 all over the room. So now everyone's all good and well covered in it. And, especially the girls that are watching. And at this point, now Rios is begging for healing. He's like, "Hey, take that rope off and give it to me to stop this bleeding, because I'm worse off. I got both of my arms cut off." And I guess it was just because he lost blood so fast, he died. He died right there. And as he passes, basically, his body glitches like a computer, just kind of, like the video just messes up.
Right.
And it was only on him, and everyone just kind of freaks out and doesn't know what's going on, but he just becomes life and limp right there after that happens. And we kind of flash back to episode 1 whenever Alice violated the taboo index by, touching over the boundary or whatever, and that face shows up again and kind of pronounces that, "Hey, you violated it. The taboo index, we're coming to get you." So basically, I'm just going to kind of end this episode the way the episode did, because it was such a nice shock. So as the Integrity Knight shows up to arrest them and take them off to wherever they're going to be judged, we find out that the Integrity Knight is Alice.
Oh. From all the way back from episode 1.
Yeah, the Alice they are looking for. So, surprise, shock. I mean, everything goes through their faces, you see, as that happens.
Twist.
Yeah, plot twist. So, yeah, that's what we're left with on that episode. So, very interesting.
So what would you rate this episode of Goblin Slayer? Sword Art Online.
Yeah. Really, it's a lot to take in with this episode, and I don't really know how I felt about it because of the fact that we had to include such graphic things to kind of get the point across of how bad they were.
Right.
I understand if they would have just explained it later on after the fact, it wouldn't have had the same impact, but still,
you didn't really want to see that.
It's just a lot. I mean, it was just really messed up anyway. So I wouldn't say it was an enjoyable episode. Not at all. It wasn't enjoyable. But it moved the story along. I got the point across that these were some bad people, and they were punished, obviously, the Rios, especially when he died. And I don't know what's going to happen to Humbert, but we found Alice. So that's kind of all I'm going to really say for the episodes. We found Alice. So
yeah.
So anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, and if you watched it, leave comments down below about how you what your thoughts were after watching that. So
and be sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, and we'll see you in the next video.